You're about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right. We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877-DOCDALI. So one of my listeners was really upset because they called their provider, and this wasn't even telemedicine, this was their provider, having some rectal bleeding, wanted medicine for hemorrhoids, and the doctor said, no, you need to come in or you need to get seen. And so the listener wants me to clarify what's happening in terms of telemedicine and primary care, but I'd rather first talk about rectal bleeding. Don't blow that off, people. Rectal bleeding can be very, very serious. So the easiest and laziest thing for anybody to do is to say, all right, it's a hemorrhoid. Do you guys know what a hemorrhoid is? So a hemorrhoid is a collapsed vein in the area of the rectum. A collapsed vein is not good. Okay, it's not necessarily dangerous, but for you to collapse a vein in the rectal area, what happened? Did you push too hard? Were you very constipated? Was it because you gave birth? Are you constantly sitting like a truck driver? What's going on there for your veins not to work? You want your veins to work. Arteries bring blood to, veins bring blood back, or arteries bring blood to your organs and tissues. Veins return it back to the heart. And so when somebody says the bleeding is from a hemorrhoid, then that means that collapsed vein has had some sort of erosion through the thick skin that's down there, then allowing access to a vessel and your plumbing causing bleeding. Yeah, it could do that. Hemorrhoids bleed. They could thrombose. The blood could clot. Like I said, it could wear through and you have access now to the vessel and it's bleeding. But that's not something you just throw some Preparation H on. These medications like Preparation H or these Anusol suppositories, they try to one, minimize the discomfort and then maybe shrink them. But if mechanically you have a collapsed vein, you have a collapsed vein. And they might not necessarily stop the bleeding. And they won't make that hemorrhoid go away for good because they don't actively remove. They're not surgeons. It's a cream or a suppository you're using. But sometimes the bleeding might not be a hemorrhoid. It could be a tear. It could be a fissure. It could be a growth. There could be a mass. And when somebody says, no, I could feel the hemorrhoid, I took a mirror, I could see the hemorrhoid, it's a hemorrhoid. Well, then my next question is, but why did you get the hemorrhoid? Is it because you have something wrong higher up in the rectum, such as a mass that caused you to have to push and make that? You know, you shouldn't just naturally be getting hemorrhoids. I'm not saying everybody with hemorrhoids has cancer. But we are very lazy in the medical community if we're like, okay, you say you have a hemorrhoid, fine, here's a suppository, see ya. No. So rectal bleed, there is no way for us to confirm online or your primary care provider taking a telehealth call that it's nothing serious. Not to mention, it's really hard to keep that area clean. You got a lot of E. coli and bacteria, you know, from your colon, now having access to that area. We want that to get addressed as soon as possible. Hemorrhoids happen. You know, if you could avoid constipation, if you could avoid flare-ups, you know, check in with your GI doctor, you know, have your colon cancer screening. Many people live well with their hemorrhoids, but expecting that a telehealth provider or somebody providing telehealth services like your doctor is not going to request an exam, not going to happen. So then the question was, well, what's going on with your primary care provider? Why aren't they helping us over the phone? Well, one is if they're busy seeing patients, it's kind of difficult for them to stop everything and deal with your phone call. Number two is they take on the liability. So if you do have a rectal bleed and that doctor does not tell you to come in, they're liable. Trust me, you're going to be told to get seen. Any of you that have bleeding, you're going to be told to get seen and get evaluated. The other thing that some people don't realize, we always ask, is the blood bright red or dark? If it's bright red, it suggests a lower bleed, not 100%, but overall, it suggests, the bleed is closer. Black blood suggests that the blood has had time to oxidize, like coming from the stomach. But I have seen rectal bleeds where that ulcer is from the stomach. It is bleeding so fast that the blood doesn't have time to oxidize. So the blood is actually red when it comes out. So I just had a patient actually last week who said he's been bleeding now for 2 days, and not when he stools. He's just passing blood. Well, then that could be a GI bleed. He could be bleeding from an ulcer somewhere. So I don't want to scare you all, but, we live in a time now where the average person does not have a doctor or a medical provider. The average person is trying to do everything, do it yourself at home or with a doctor online. And there are conditions where we just can't. One of my friend's mothers came to me years ago. She said, I've never needed a doctor and I've never needed medication my whole life. And I'm like, wow. She's like, but I don't feel right. She ended up having colon cancer, advanced colon cancer, and she was dead within months. And so your history of, I've been well, I've been good, it's fantastic, but you still need your checkups. You still need your screens. And now that younger people are having more and more rectal bleed, I've diagnosed rectal cancer and colorectal cancer in younger individuals. Because once I pick up that their bowels are changing or they have bleeding or pain or something's not right down there, I get them to a GI doctor to be looked at. Dr. Yakov Shabashikov was a doctor who for years partnered in terms of, I needed to get a patient in right away. They would get that patient in same day. Because again, somebody was bleeding. We don't mess around. So for those of you who are like, oh man, I don't know what I have, get yourself checked out, even if it's at an urgent care. There's things they could do. And they could also maybe refer you to a specialist who could take a look. But, expecting telemedicine to do everything so you don't have to get out of your house and go to a doctor, we need to get people's thinking completely changed on that. I mean, I've had parents call with very sick children, just asking what they could do at home. And I'm like, what you could do at home is grab your purse and keys and take your kid to the doctor. I don't want them to die. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799 and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799 and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on X or Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So when I was little, I would watch these movies, you know, whether it was The Godfather or Narcos, or I'd watch these shows, and you would see the bad guys. And you would see the bad guys be bad people. And they would kill people off. And then you would see most of these bad guys had a buddy or like a right-hand man. And you're thinking to yourself, wow, if I ever get caught up in anything like that, how do I become the buddy? Because you don't want to be expendable. And then later on in the movie, they go after the buddy. Everybody is expendable. And that's what I learned as a kid, watching these shows where you could think you're safe in a job. And somehow either you cost them too much, they can, hire two people cheaper than you. Right? You're older, you maybe didn't sleep with them, who knows? Eventually you think you're non-expendable and you become expendable. And so what's going through a lot of Americans' minds right now is, are they expendable at work? They don't want to get the axe, literally or figuratively. And so how do they keep their jobs? And we are seeing thousands upon thousands of people every month lose their jobs because they are learning that they are expendable. And so there's a new sort of term for workers that might have a little bit of protection. You have the white collar workers, right, where that came from, white collar suits, people in upper management. You have the blue collar jobs, those who really work with their hands, a lot more manual labor, to me, are doing the grit and the majority of the work, but in blue collars or uniforms. And now they have something called new collar jobs. And these new collar jobs are different from white collar and blue collar in that you do get training, you do need certification, you do need to have certain credentials, but it's an alternative to going the college degree route. So whether it's getting, let's say, certifications in technology, software, healthcare, getting vocational training, going through community colleges, cybersecurity, software development, cloud computing. These are things that I don't know anything about cybersecurity. I went the old Gen X traditional way of going through school, getting a degree. But people like me are going to be out of jobs later because AI is going to take that on. So new collar jobs are those where you do get some training, but you have a skill. In order for you to keep your job, that boss needs to know you have something to bring to the table. Do you have connections? Do you have, shall we say, certain skills that they can't find with anybody else? Now, eventually, there's a lot of kids getting the memo. So they are doing cybersecurity. They are learning AI. They are learning that. But for now, there's still a dearth because the industry is evolving. And if you're like me, it's hard to teach an old dog new tricks. You're going to be in trouble. But if you aren't like me and you're like, I could learn, I could take a class every year if I have to. That willingness to evolve is going to probably keep you safe. Now, what about those of you Gen X's or baby boomers thinking, okay, I could be out in a heartbeat? Well, again, you need to find your worth and you need to show them what you're worth. But if that's not worth that they need, they don't keep you. It's all about money these days. Things are really expensive. Employees are expensive. Health insurance is expensive. Them liking you, not enough. It's a money game, especially since they get fired based on the money and the labor costs. So one is you have to have a position where either nobody else could do your job or What I recommend, because it's really, really hard, to manage your life if you don't have control. So one thing that I recommend to everybody is to find out what it is that company needs and you do it. If you could do multiple jobs and be a great float, they're not going to get rid of you. Because when they have people not showing up to work or they have turnover, they could count on you to jump departments. So you need to be somebody where when they need help, they could count on you. I remember I had a boss recently who had said, look, I need somebody who could write a grant. Do you know anybody? I go, give it to me. You could do that? Yeah, I could do a lot of things. Let that boss know. Now, grant writing was not my job, but a job needed to be done. Now, I know a lot of you would be thinking, wait a second. Now you're giving yourself extra work. If you are of the mindset to lay low and not get extra work and just collect a paycheck, you're going to be out of a job. In fact, I think a CEO just lectured to a whole bunch of, an investment firm CEO tells thousands in a conference audience that 60% of them will be looking for work next year. Robert Smith, CEO of investment firm Vista Equity Partners, said on Thursday that AI is going to overturn the job market and lead to layoffs for most finance professionals. That 60% of them need to be prepared that they're going to be out of a job next year. So what I recommend you all do is try to be ahead of the curve. Look at what is needed. And you might already be behind the curve because I think there's already people, jumping in to learn things that you might not learn. But a lot of jobs need coders. A lot of people don't know how to code. One of my sons said, I'm going to teach myself how to code. I just noticed that that's what people need. And even though that's not technically what I've been trained in, the fact that I could code can now be an extra asset for a company I'm working for and make me less likely to be fired. So what you need to do is you need to talk to your bosses and say, look, how could I help? What is it that you need? What are you looking for? What employees do you need? What employees do you not? Because I want to be here long term. I'm a part of the team and I want to help. What are the gaps that need to be filled? And if they say, well, we need somebody who knows how to do coding, or we need somebody who knows how to teach this, or we need somebody, and you can say, I could do that. Do you want to see me do it? Whatever I could do to help. And again, those people that are willing to fill in the gaps are going to be the last ones fired because you're so much more versatile. Also, don't be a pain in the ass. Don't always be asking for time off. Don't always be arguing. Don't always be like, well, I can't do this. You're giving me too much work to do. Now, it's interesting. I watch a show Below Deck, and I know exactly who's going to be the trouble employee even before they start making trouble, because you could already tell. You want someone that has an opinion. You want to be opinionated, but if they're already complaining, yeah. Now, I'm not saying don't complain. You have every right to complain. You have every right to be happy. If you don't like where you're working, leave. But, understand that you are now, it was the employees had the upper hand post-COVID. You could ask for your price. You could tell people, I don't care. I'm taking off. I'm leaving early. You would see stores completely closed down early because the staff are like, sorry, we're not coming in. Employees had the upper hand. Now that employers are running on financial fumes, it's, leave, see ya. We don't need you. And then, what is the world going to look like if 60% of financial investors or people in the finance department are going to be losing their job? What does this look like? Are we going to run out of jobs? There are jobs out there. You can make your own job. You could go to your neighbor and say, look, I will mow your lawn or I will buy your groceries. You can make your own job if you really, really want to. I mean, you could find work. If somebody's willing to pay for something, you'll be able to do it. Like I said, one of my family members decided to go and pick up prescriptions for everybody at a retirement home. One thing that's really, really needed is older individuals who don't drive need somebody that can drive. that could do things, that could pick things up for them, buy their groceries for them. Even though, yeah, there's Instacart and there's ways for delivery, there are many people that really need somebody hands-on. And so that's a great job for people who want part-time work where they will help and be paid a fee to go and pick up your groceries, pick up your prescriptions, and do some of that driving for you. So there's work out there, but for you to keep your job, you need to figure out what they need and if you are of that worth. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY. Don't go away.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So I told my husband and my family, God forbid I leave this earth, I want the coffin closed. I want a closed coffin, not an open casket funeral. I don't want people looking at me. Yeah. I don't want them seeing me bloated or however they're doing my makeup. Close the casket. Now, don't look at my fingers and all that. And I understand these morticians really know how to make you look good. I'm just like, close the casket. I don't want people seeing me. Just put up some really good pictures of me from Facebook up during the funeral. However, maybe I need to rethink that because every year we hear of a case where somebody is presumed dead, is at their funeral, and wakes up in their coffin and they're alive. So we have another case here of an 88-year-old woman who woke up inside her own coffin. Now, I don't think it was during the funeral service, but she woke up and I believe she was going to be cremated. The incident happened in Pilsen in Chechnya, formerly known as the Czech Republic, after an unresponsive elderly woman was unable to be woken by her husband one morning. He called emergency services, but the woman was declared to be legally dead by a coroner. This is according to local outlet Blesk. But when the undertakers arrived to collect the dead body and place her in a coffin, it was then they made the stunning discovery that she was very much alive and breathing. Now, they say reports from Czech media vary, and it's unclear whether the woman opened her eyes or whether it was her breathing that undertook her. But emergency medical services were immediately sent to the scene. She was transported to a hospital, and the 88-year-old is currently alive and well. They said the funeral service workers put her in a coffin, and when they were right here, they found out she was alive. He said, it's serious. I'm completely unhappy about it. He's happy she's alive, but unhappy that, she was declared dead by a coroner. So this wasn't them coming to the house going, okay, we're going to take the body. She was already evaluated. And coroners, they know how to declare somebody dead. Pupils fixed, dilated, no pulse, the changes in the body within hours. It's pretty standard. So according to an ambulance, and this is reported by Indy 100, They said an ambulance spokesperson said our operations center received a call in the early morning hours during which the operation proceeded in accordance with the valid recommendations of the professional society and the methodology for situations related to the death of a patient. Following this procedure, the entire incident was handed over to the coroner. So right now it's go ask the coroner what happened. While we're waiting for that, there is, we've talked about this on the show. It's something called the Lazarus effect, where people appear dead and they might not necessarily be dead. We spoke about with hypothermia. In medical school, we learn you're not dead until you're warm and dead. And what does that mean? Well, because if we find you in a lake or hypothermic, there's a chance that you could still be technically alive, still have brain activity, still even have the ability to have your heart function. But we won't know that until you're rewarmed, because in severe cold, your body shuts down. Now, oftentimes, if you fall into a lake, a frozen lake, you become hypothermic, you'll die. You stop breathing because you're underwater, you'll die. But unless you already have the signs and symptoms of rigor mortis and the changes that happen, we try and warm you up because you're not dead until you're warm and dead. So we know that to be true with severe hypothermia. But this Lazarus effect is a phenomenon where a person who's been declared dead after resuscitation efforts have ceased regains spontaneous circulation. We spoke about something similar, that we always tell hospitals that if a baby is born dead to a mom, let the mom hold the baby up against her naked chest. Let her hold the baby, because there have been cases where that baby woke up. I mean, it's a phenomenon that has been established and documented. Not all babies, but when a mom says, "I want to hold my dead baby," or if the baby, you could, unless it's obvious that the fetus had died, let the mom hold. We're talking about a baby born that might have maybe struggled during the delivery. Miscarriages, unfortunately, oftentimes when they're that early, you can't save them. But a full-term baby, let mom hold the baby, because sometimes they will wake up and be alive. So this Lazarus effect involves a delayed return of spontaneous circulation after CPR is done, named after, Jesus resurrecting Lazarus. And so the name suggests a resurrection from the dead, this Lazarus effect. But we don't necessarily call it a resurrection. We feel that, or that you were dead and now you're alive. We look at it as you weren't ever really officially dead. And so why could that be? What happened? Well, is it that there's air trapping in the lungs during CPR because of hyperventilation? Will that affect venous return? And then all of a sudden after CPR, there ends up being, a flow? Is it that certain drugs that we give you to jumpstart and wake up the heart had trouble getting to where they needed to? And then after the CPR was stopped and the intrathoracic pressure changed, the drugs became more effective? Could it be that you might have had a plaque causing artery blockage to the heart and that gets dislodged? That could happen spontaneously sometimes. Is it that there was a condition like acidosis or hyperkalemia or something where, while you are in the thick of being resuscitated, let's say, the levels are different. But, those aren't necessarily the cases we're hearing about in the news. We aren't necessarily hearing about people who are undergoing CPR. The CPR stops because they think they're dead, and then a moment or two later they wake up. We are talking about days passing, hours passing. And I think it was last year where somebody was at his funeral and wakes up in his funeral. I think it was in India. I forget which country that was. So coroners, they usually know how to do this. And most of these mistakes I'm hearing that are happening are not happening in America. They're happening in other countries. So I'm sure the American standards to determine who, is dead and who isn't is there. But, always, get a second opinion. It's interesting. People ask me, they say, look, if they wake up to a dead spouse, is it a waste of money to call an ambulance? Because they're dead, should they just call the coroner? What I tell everybody to do is call 911, because you need to know what if you don't have medical background, you need to, not to mention from a liability standpoint, you need to contact authorities. Let them decide who they want to send over to the house. All right, don't make that decision. But if you are next to somebody who's not waking up, call 911. If 911 will ask you, look, is there a pulse? Is there, and they gather information thinking that this might have been, shall we say, a 4 or 5 hour old corpse, they will know who to send to the house. But you shouldn't make that decision. Calling 911 is free. And I understand many people are kind of freaked out about bills and they don't want to. That could always be worked out later. But the last thing you want to do is underdiagnose somebody that might actually still need help. I can't tell you how many times, I ask my husband something, what, and in the middle of the night, and then I check his breathing. I'm like, oh, he's good. If I'm not talking in my sleep, the whole family thinks I'm dead. And I'm like, God forbid. No, I'm just, I probably wasn't talking in my sleep. So let a medical authority make the judgment call. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away. Dr. Daliah here. Are you tired, burned out, gaining weight, succumbing to the daily pressures of life? Well, how's your dopamine doing? How you feel right now, how you'll feel an hour from now, and how you'll feel next week is completely reliant on your dopamine. Our daily motivation and willingness to push through challenges depends on the intricate chemical process dopamine provides. Christian Kalikas and I created Deploying Dopamine, a book that tells you what dopamine is, when it dysfunctions, and how to successfully deploy it when needed. Find Deploying Dopamine on Amazon today. Check it out.
Lisa Wolf here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you. And be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH, 1-877-DOCDALI. So the Trump-Elon Musk feud has erupted, and people are not happy. Democrats are happy. Republicans not too happy. The parents are fighting. Seeing the partnership between Trump and Elon Musk was historic. Seeing Elon Musk support Trump, I think it was a huge, huge push for Trump over the top. but seeing them fight, not settling well with a lot of Americans. And I understand that politics is very fluid. I understand that people can get grumpy about things, and but people feel like, well, I have to pick a side. Am I pro-Trump? Am I pro-Elon Musk? And there were many people who really liked Elon Musk, and they felt like they needed things spelled out a little easier, going, oh, yay, now that Elon Musk is pro-Trump, yay, we can, I don't feel like I'm split. And now people feel split again if they, listen, you don't always have to pick a side. All right, let them fight, let them, disagree on things. This is all kind of, I guess, having to do with the bill. And they are starting to say things that are possibly going to make the relationship irreparable. Trump and Elon Musk look like they were really close buddies. But I picked up on some things. I actually picked up it on the Trump side of things, where it looked like Trump did not want to necessarily be very touchy-feely with Elon Musk. Maybe Trump knew. Elon Musk's involvement in the Trump administration was supposed to sunset July 4th. It wasn't supposed to be long-term because Elon Musk has other things to do. I mean, look at how he helped save the NASA astronauts. We need Elon Musk to do his SpaceX, to do his Tesla, to do the other things. However, what he did for Doge was phenomenal. And I was very, very grateful for the time he gave to the Trump administration. And then it just slowly started to kind of get quiet. And now we see this tension. And so Elon Musk has been criticizing the bill. The president is now criticizing Elon Musk's attacks on the bill. And I don't know if you've been following Twitter, but, I think Elon Musk posted Kill Bill, the Kill Bill movie, right? He had put that picture of Kill Bill, meaning kill the bill. He's also written, I think Donald Trump had suggested that maybe Elon Musk is unhappy because the EV solar incentive were cut, and so he thinks that Elon Musk was upset about that. Elon Musk wrote, keep the cuts in the bill. He said, also cut all the crazy spending increases in the big ugly bill so that America doesn't go bankrupt. So while Trump is calling this a big beautiful bill, which I really don't like that name, I'm sorry, Elon Musk is calling it the big ugly bill. And I have said from the beginning for years, we could get stuff done if we do little bills. Like the Affordable Care Act was 2,200 pages with a couple good things and the rest horrible crap. With this big, beautiful bill, I get that, it's really hard to pass things, but I think there's a lot of bipartisan support. There's a lot of things that bipartisanly we could have already passed. But it had to be a part of a big bill. And so now there's going to be this delay. And so, Elon Musk had written recently, without me, Trump would have lost the election. Dems would control the House and Republicans would be 51-49 in the Senate. And so now Elon Musk is kind of, he's now grumpy. And we don't want to see the parents fight. Not that they are our parents, but you have the richest man in the world. You have one of the biggest innovators who actually helped save, our astronauts' lives, getting them off the space station that they were stranded on. Not to mention, he had brilliant ideas, and he found a lot of waste, fraud, and abuse. But you have Trump, who is probably one of the best presidents we've had in a while, fighting with him because of the bill. Trump needs this bill passed. You guys know more about the intricacies of what's in it. I think the worry is it's going to add to the deficit. It's going to add to the deficit. It's going to add to the debt. And then, but the bill with certain tax credits and certain other things feel they're going to actually be able to make the money back. But, I think this is all a distraction. Look, Elon Musk has to get Tesla stock back up. He has Teslas that are not being bought. his association with Trump hurt him to a degree. In terms of people starting to, attack Teslas, attack him. I think too many were made because there were all these mandates that were pushed by Biden and Governor Newsom, and the average person can't afford a Tesla. The average person can't charge a Tesla if they live in an apartment building that doesn't have enough parking spaces, let alone chargers for everybody. So whoever was able to afford a Tesla or had the ability to charge it bought one already. Everybody else is like, I'm good. So you're not seeing them sold. So Elon Musk has to do what he needs to get his, businesses back. Does he have to be so vehement about this bill? Is he running for politics? Does he have to now be on this charge to kill the bill? Well, if he really, feels strongly and he thinks the Doge cuts are not mattering and they're not being, shall we say, addressed, I could see why he's sore. Yeah, but from what I understand, the cuts with Doge have to be in a different sort of process. There's that whole reconciliation process and all that sort of mumbo jumbo that happens when, in terms of Congress. And so there's certain things that Congress can pass with this bill, certain things they can't. There's different processes depending on spending, et cetera. But, I thought Elon Musk was going to do the great work he did, get the honors and the accolades, and then get back to work with his companies. I didn't think he was going to then be so vocal. You could say, I don't like the bill. This is my recommendation. But now it's going back and forth where Elon Musk is really, really trying to stop this bill from being passed. Is this a power trip? Or is that he really thinks this bill is going to hurt people? Now, I just don't know all the nooks and crannies and all the excess that's in this bill. As far as I'm concerned, I want the border wall back up. And we need national security, and I want a vetted immigration process so the good immigrants come in and the criminals stay out. I want better hospital infrastructure. I want our military the strongest, and anything they need, they get. In terms of, with all the discord happening across the globe. I don't want us spending money on NPR and other things that are not necessarily bipartisan and in the taxpayers' best interest. Okay, I don't want junk food being supported by SNAP benefits. I only want healthy food supported. I think work requirements for Medicaid is healthy for people who are able-bodied, don't have kids, that aren't really taking care of anybody else. Why should they be home? Get working, even if it's part-time. And help them build a life. So I think there's a lot of good things in this bill. But, if they're worried about the cost because we have to improve our national security, I'm on the side of spending that to improve national security. So I understand people feel upset. Just, move on with your lives, get stuff done. Let the politicians hammer it out. We got bigger fish to fry. 1-877-Doc-Daliah.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA1. That's 800-JBS-USA1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA1 today.